This is Flow News at 6 p.m. on Flow 94.9 FM, Umuahia, the flow of God's own state. Good evening and thanks for joining us. My name is Chimdindu Chambers. The headlines. Angry villagers block Vice President's convoy in Abuja. National Union of Teachers urged JAMB to release results of innocent UTME candidates. Abia State lawmaker urges colleagues to join forces with Governor Ikpeazu for effective governance. And on the foreign scene, Turkish president defends Istanbul election rerun amid protest. Details shortly. Angry villagers of Abagi community today blocked the convoy of the Vice President Yemi Osibanjo on his way to the airport, protesting an alleged invasion of their land by the military. Spokesman to the Vice President, Laolu Akande, who disclosed the situation on his Twitter handle, said efforts by the Vice President's security aides to appease the protesters failed as Professor Osibanjo had to come down from his car and address them himself.
All what we carry today, we had a vice president who listened to the cry of his people. The Nigerian army are killing FCT. They are taking over more than 4 hectares of land in Giri. We have reported to the presidency. There was a meeting, a committee set up headed by Abajari, 2016. They gave us quick notice to leave just last week, sir.
The Vice President appealed for calm and assured the protesters that their grievances would be addressed adequately. Minister of Defense Mansour Dan Ali is of the view that lack of military-industrial complex has been detrimental to national security management. Speaking at the National Defense College in Abuja, the minister also decried the poor funding of the sector, which he described as capital-intensive.
One critical problem facing the Ministry of Defense is inadequate funding. As a result, the overhead requirement of the ministry are hardly met. The recent intervention by Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, in approving funds for procurement of critical equipment in the armed forces is expected to assist improving the capacity of our military.
On his part, Commandant National Defense College Maxine Kadiri stated that the military needs continuous innovation to meet emerging security challenges.
In a global world where the security environment is ever changing and presenting new dynamics, threats are mutating and responses to them have to equally be evolving. There will be no one shoe that will fit all.
Meanwhile, Chief of Army Staff Sadiq Abubakar says the first will not compromise the territorial integrity of Nigeria, even in the face of threatening insecurity across the country. Speaking in Kaduna, Abubakar maintained that security agencies are working together to surmount security challenges facing the nation.
The Nigerian Air Force for some time now has been involved in various internal security operations in the country. We are committed, therefore, as a service to ensuring that the menace of terrorism, kidnapping, cattle rustling, and armed banditry are addressed decisively.
Speaker, House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara believes that Nigeria's real problem was lack of leadership and not corruption as widely claimed. Dogara, who disclosed this at the gathering of elected young representatives organized by the Not Too Young to Run movement, said Nigeria was plagued by a lot of challenges, ranging from being ranked as the 3rd most dangerous country of the world to terrorism, banditry, unemployment, and dearth of healthcare facilities, amongst others.
We want to see leaders who will hold the executive to account in performing oversight, and then also the quality of our legislation really need to improve at different levels. We talk about not too young to run. We're talking about leaders that will provide the excellent public leadership that Nigeria needs. And the burden is actually on you, and that is why we celebrate you today. But we also remind you of that burden.
He noted that it is a clarion call of nation building for the youths elected into parliament in the just concluded elections to use their strength and population to fortify the nation. A Catholic Archbishop, John Onaikon, is calling on the federal government to wake up to their responsibility and create job opportunities to reduce cases of Nigerian migrants. Speaking at youth conference, Onaikon appealed to Nigerian youth to exercise patience by resisting the urge that propels them to indulge in illegal migration.
If you're an illegal migrant, you have no rights wherever you are. You are liable to be manipulated, to be exploited. You can't even complain if you are not being treated well. Because when you complain and go to the police, the first thing they ask you is, where are your papers? It's terrible. It's a terrible thing to live in a nation where you are considered unwanted. And because of the difficulty of us crossing these boundaries leads to traffic.
He enjoined young people to make decent living in Nigeria. Meanwhile, Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyama is asking for support from the President of United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, to address the issues of climate change and migration in Nigeria. Onyama, who made this appeal during a meeting with President of the UNGA, Maria Gassis, at the nation's capital in Abuja, also asked for support in recharging the Lake Chad, which according to him has shrinked by over 90%.
We are looking to have the support of the United Nations and your support in particular to address this challenge. And one of the mechanisms we have identified is the recharging of the lake. This is going to be a very capital-intensive effort and something in the order of 40 to 50 billion US dollars estimated.
Gassis, in response, said the multilateral cooperation remains key to addressing challenges like climate change and migration. Minister of Transport Rotimi Amechi says the number of coaches presently operating in the Kaduna-Abuja axis is enough to transport passengers if insecurity in that route is settled. Speaking in an interview, Amechi also revealed that the request for more coaches to be purchased is for the long run.
Budget for more coaches because there will be crime on the Abuja-Kaduna route. So what you've done is you've transferred passengers, including rich men who used to drive in their car to Kaduna, to now begin to use trains. So what you should say and what the public should be saying is how to resolve the insecurity. And there are so many things you need to do to resolve the insecurity. You need to do community policing, you need to do regular policing, you need to fight poverty.
He, however, noted that the federal government is making efforts to acquire coaches and locomotives for the Lagos-Ibadan Railroad. International Labour Organization is condemning high rate of child labor in Nigeria with a promise to set up a program to eliminate it. Country representative International Labour Organization Dennis Zulu explained that the program became imperative as a result of high incidence of child labor, especially in mining and agricultural sector across Nigeria.
Children in Nigeria engage in the worst forms of child labor, including work in quarry, granite extraction, commercial sexual exploitation, and armed conflict. I'm certain you can relate to this, and I'm sure as people who are involved in this area, you very much appreciate the fact that there's still quite a lot of work to be done in this case, because still our children are working, and in most cases, in the worst forms.
Director General Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, Timothy Nawale, also frowned at the trend.
Having identified informal sector as the major area where there is actually the need for us to intensify effort and ensure that national legislations and international conventions with regards to elimination of child labor is enforced down the line there, we are very keen to discuss and engage on the likely way out.
Chairman of the National Union of Teachers, NUT, is urging the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, to release the results of candidates who were not involved in examination malpractices during the 2019 UTME. Note, Chairman for Lagos State Wing, Adesina Adedoyin, made the appeal in Lagos, noting that the results released should be for candidates who wrote the 2019 Unified Tertiary Matriculation examinations and were found to be innocent. Adedoyin said the level of malpractice in the conduct of the 2019 UTME was as a result of the societal problems confronting the country, which includes corruption. Meanwhile, some candidates who took part in the Unified Tertiary Matriculation examination in Abia State are expressing frustration at the delay by Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, in releasing their results. Some of the candidates who spoke to Full FM News urged the board to punish those found guilty of examination malpractice, but not at the expense of others who worked hard for the examination.
When I wrote my exams in Omahia, we had no problems at my center. But since JAMB said that a lot of people or persons were arrested because of exam malpractice, they should go ahead and punish them. for what they did, if it's by withholding their results, and not everybody that took the exams.
I am really worried because I want to know my fate, whether I will get admission or not. Some of us have written JAMB many times.
JAMB said it has begun the biometric verification of the 1.8 candidates who sat for this year's Unified Tertiary Matriculation examination. The member representing Ohafia South State Constituency, Abia State House of Assembly, Chief Ifeanyi Uchendu, has stressed the need for Abians, irrespective of party affiliation, to keep behind the policies and programs of Governor Ikpeazu towards making Abia greater in the next 4 years. Uchendu, who was speaking with newsmen in Umuahia, said Governor Ikpeazu has, within his first tenure in office, exhibited the willingness to change the developmental narratives of Abia through infrastructure, commerce, and industry. The state lawmaker, who made it back for second time, used the time and commended Governor Ikpeazu for his untiring efforts in redefining governance in the state and for being a true role model for the present and upcoming generations. Former Governor of Abia State and Senator-elect for Abia North Senatorial Zone, Ojuzo Carlo, is calling on Muslims across the country to strongly emulate the virtues of Prophet Muhammad in this holy month of Ramadan. Carlo, in a press release through his spokesperson, Maduka Okoro, urged Nigerians to show love and pray for peace, equity, and fairness in the nation. He further appealed to them to pray for oneness, which he believes will bring glory and honor to Prophet Muhammad as the cherisher of mankind. Flow News at 6 p.m. continues shortly with business, foreign, and sports news. Stay with us.
About the general lack of faith in the police and the judicial system. In order for people to get quick remedy from the perceived injustice inflicted on them, they often resort to self-help. This should not be. It is not only barbaric, it is unlawful and criminal. Such acts are against the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Do not take laws into your hands. Report to the police. Stop jungle justice now. This message is brought to you by Flow 94.9 FM.
Glad to know that you're still there. Now over to business news. Central Bank of Nigeria, in collaboration with the Bankers Committee, as part of efforts to boost job creation in Nigeria, particularly among the youth, has developed a creative industry financing initiative. The CBN noted that the creative industries that could apply were fashion information technology, movie production, movie distribution, music and software engineering student loan. It advised interested applicants in the creative industry to submit applications to their banks for approval and disbursement and urged them to prepare the business plan or statement on how much they are required for the business. And away from the shores of Nigeria, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said there was illegality in Istanbul's local elections after the country's electoral body ordered them to be reheld. Speaking at the parliamentary meeting at his AK party, President Erdogan said that redoing the vote was the best step for the country. Recall that the decision to rerun last month's vote had sparked protests yesterday, and the European Parliament has also said the decision to rerun the election on 23rd of June would end the credibility of democratic elections in Turkey. And finally, in sports, Nigeria point guard Ben Uzo is confident that the Tigers can achieve great things at the FIBA Basketball World Cup in China. In an interview, Uzo described their group opponents as strong teams that should not be taken for granted, but he believes that the Tigers can give them a good run for their money. Uzo admits that by reaching the quarterfinals at the Women's World Cup in Tenerife last September, Nigeria's women have tasked the men to not limit their ambition. And of course, the sports story wraps the news up this evening, but just before we go, a recap of our major stories. We made you to understand that angry villagers of Abagi community today blocked the convoy of the Vice President Yemi Osibanjo on his way to the airport, alleging an invasion of their land by the military. We also made you know that Chairman of the National Union of Teachers is urging the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board JAMB to release the results of candidates who were not involved in examination malpractices during the 2019 UTME. The member representing Ohafia South State constituency, Abia State House of Assembly, has stressed the need for Abians, irrespective of party affiliation, to join forces to lift the state. And from the foreign scene, we brought to you that the Turkish President Recep Erdogan says there was illegality in Istanbul's local elections after the country's electoral body ordered them to be reheld.